Every day, thousands of flights take off around the world, each one a routine journey guided by the expert hands of its flight crew. But what happens when a routine flight turns into a nightmare? Today, we explore such a flight, a journey filled with unexpected challenges that push the crew to their limits. March 18, 2016, FlyDubai Flight 981 was scheduled for a regular night flight from Dubai to Rostov-on-Don. The aircraft, a modern Boeing 737, was prepared for departure under the clear, starlit sky of Dubai. The crew, experienced and well-rested, anticipated a standard flight. However, nature had other plans. At Dubai International Airport, the evening was as usual busy. Passengers boarding, last-minute cargo being loaded, and pilots performing their final checks. The air was filled with a sense of calm routine, the kind that promises a smooth journey ahead. Little did everyone know, this flight was to be anything but ordinary. FlyDubai Flight 981 was not just another number on the departure board. It was a bridge between Dubai and Rostov-on-Don, cities almost 2,600 kilometers apart. This flight was set to cover the distance in just over 4 hours, cruising through the night skies. The cockpit was manned by 2 skilled aviators. The captain, a 38-year-old with nearly 6,000 flight hours under his belt, had flown across continents and weathered many skies. His co-pilot, a 37-year-old from Spain, brought over 5,800 hours of flying experience, having navigated everything from small Cessnas to the larger ATRs, and now the Boeing 737. Their aircraft, a Boeing 737-800, was a workhorse of modern aviation. At just 6 years old, it was equipped with the latest navigation and safety features, including a sophisticated predictive wind shear warning system, a crucial ally against the unpredictable forces of nature. This system, along with advanced head-up displays for the captain, provided critical information directly in the line of sight, blending technology with visibility to enhance safety. FlyDubai had equipped this 737 with enhancements suited for its varied destinations, acknowledging the specific challenges posed by airports like Rostov-on-Don. Known for its tricky wind patterns and less-than-ideal weather conditions, this destination required pilots to be not just skilled, but highly adaptable. As Flight 981 taxied onto the runway, the engines roared to life, ready to conquer the skies. Both the crew and the aircraft were prepared, or so it seemed. But as every aviator knows, the sky is the ultimate arbiter, capable of changing fates in mere moments. Before every flight, a critical ritual unfolds away from the passengers' eyes, the pre-flight briefing. For Flight 981, this was not just routine, but a crucial strategy session. The weather forecast for Rostov-on-Don was daunting. A cold front was moving in, bringing gusty winds and potential thunderstorms, promising a turbulent approach. With safety paramount, the crew reviewed special procedures for the Russian Federation, including adjustments for flying at different altitude measurements and dealing with variable airport pressure settings. The pilots also discussed the airport's reputation for sudden wind shears and its unusually shallow glide slope for approaches, earmarking it as a captain-only landing zone. Armed with knowledge and fortified by rigorous training, the crew headed to their aircraft. It was just before 9:45 p.m., and the bustling atmosphere of Dubai International faded behind them as they stepped into the cockpit of their Boeing 737. With all preparations complete, Flight 981 lifted off into the night sky. The initial phase of the flight was smooth, the Boeing 737 ascending gracefully to its cruising altitude. As cities below turned into mere specks, the tranquility of the flight belied the turbulent weather that awaited at their destination. As they cruised, the cockpit was a calm sea of glowing instruments and soft radio chatter. The pilots navigated through the darkness, every dial and readout a testament to the aircraft's advanced engineering. But even the most sophisticated technology has its limits when faced with the capricious nature of the weather. With every nautical mile, the aircraft drew closer to its destination, and the tension began to build. What awaited them was more than just a routine landing. It was a test of their skills, their aircraft's capabilities, and their ability to handle the unexpected. As Flight 981 neared Rostov-on-Don, The serene skies from their departure gave way to menacing clouds and erratic winds. The crew requested the latest weather updates from Rostov, hoping for good news, but preparing for the worst. The reports were far from reassuring. Strong westerly winds, gusting up to 29 knots, rain showers, and potential thunderstorms loomed over their destination. The crew knew they were in for a challenging landing. Despite the deteriorating weather, the crew remained focused and calm. They reviewed their approach procedures, discussed potential wind shear, and prepared for the possibility of a go-around, a maneuver to abort the landing and climb back into the air. As they neared Rostov-on-Don, the aircraft began to experience turbulence. The once smooth ride was now a battle against the elements. The Boeing 737, despite its advanced systems, was being tested by nature's unpredictability. Wind shear, a sudden change in wind speed and direction, is one of the most dangerous conditions pilots can face, especially during landing. The predictive wind shear system on board the aircraft scanned the rain-laden skies, ready to alert the crew at the first sign of trouble. Both pilots were on high alert. The captain, utilizing the head-up display, kept a close eye on their approach path, while the first officer managed the communications and monitored the instruments. Despite the turbulence, they continued their descent, prepared for whatever lay ahead. The runway was now in sight, but the path to a safe landing was fraught with peril. The crew's training and preparation were about to be put to the ultimate test as they braced for the final approach amidst the swirling winds and driving rain. As FlyDubai 981 descended toward Rostov-on-Don, the pilots focused intensely on the approach. The runway was visible, but the turbulent air made the plane shudder and sway. Suddenly, a warning pierced the cockpit. "Go around, wind shear ahead." The predictive wind shear warning system had detected dangerous conditions ahead. Without a moment's hesitation, the captain called for a go-around. This wasn't just a routine go-around. It was a wind shear escape maneuver, requiring maximum thrust and precise control. The engines roared as the thrust levers were pushed forward and the aircraft climbed away from the runway. The crew worked in perfect sync, following their training to escape the invisible threat of wind shear. For a moment they were safe, but the ordeal was far from over. After escaping the wind shear, the crew decided to enter a holding pattern, circling above the airport to wait for the weather to improve. They had enough fuel to wait, thanks to the tankering decision made back in Dubai. While in the holding pattern, the pilots monitored the weather closely. They discussed their options, debating whether to attempt another landing or divert to an alternate airport. Meanwhile, an Aeroflot flight made 2 unsuccessful attempts to land and eventually diverted, confirming the severity of the conditions. Despite the challenging weather and the recent go-around, the captain believed they could land safely. He decided to wait for a break in the storm and then attempt another approach. The crew's training and experience gave them confidence, but the unpredictable weather was an ever-present threat. As the minutes turned into hours, the storm showed little sign of relenting. The crew, determined to complete their mission, prepared for another descent into Rostov-on-Don. The next approach would be critical, a true test of their skill and resolve. After circling for nearly 2 hours, the storm showed signs of easing slightly. With renewed determination, the crew of FlyDubai 981 prepared for a second approach. They recalculated their landing speeds, reviewed their procedures, and braced themselves for another attempt. As they descended again toward Rostov-on-Don, the turbulence intensified. The captain disconnected the autopilot to gain a better feel for the aircraft. Every adjustment was critical as the plane was buffeted by the wind. At 1,000 feet above the ground, the runway lights pierced through the darkness. The aircraft was on course, but the wind gusts were relentless. The captain fought to maintain control, the first officer calling out speed and altitude. Suddenly, a powerful gust pushed the plane's speed dangerously high. The captain, reacting quickly, decided to initiate another go-around. This time, there was no wind shear warning, but the conditions were still treacherous. The engines surged to full thrust, and the aircraft began to climb. However, the captain's actions were now guided by a mix of fatigue and the overwhelming stress of the situation. the plane's nose pitched up steeply, and then the captain pushed it down sharply. This abrupt maneuver created a near weightless sensation in the cockpit, disorienting the captain further. The first officer, sensing something was wrong, called out, "Pull up! Pull up!" But the confusion only deepened. As the plane ascended, the captain made a critical mistake, continuing to trim the aircraft nose down. The plane, now in a steep dive, accelerated rapidly. The ground proximity warning system blared, "Terrain! Terrain! Pull up!" But it was too late. In less than a minute, the plane plunged towards the earth. The crew, despite their best efforts, could not regain control. At 4:41 a.m., FlyDubai 981 crashed near the runway, ending the lives of all 62 people on board. The aftermath of the crash was devastating. Emergency response teams rushed to the site, but there were no survivors. The impact had been catastrophic, leaving a deep scar both physically and emotionally at Rostov-on-Don. Investigators from the Russian Interstate Aviation Committee, along with international experts, began their painstaking work. The cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, often referred to as the black boxes, were recovered, providing crucial clues to understanding the tragedy. Analysis of the data revealed a series of critical errors. The captain's spatial disorientation and confusion during the go-around were key factors. The investigators noted that the crew's actions, influenced by extreme stress and fatigue, led to the tragic outcome. One of the main contributors to the crash was somatogravic illusion, a sensory illusion that can occur during rapid acceleration in poor visibility. It makes pilots feel as if the aircraft is pitching up when it is not, leading to incorrect control inputs. This illusion likely caused the captain to push the nose down, believing he was preventing a stall. The investigation also highlighted gaps in training for such disorienting scenarios. Recommendations were made to improve pilot training for handling spatial disorientation and stress management during critical flight phases. Additionally, the communication barriers with air traffic control were scrutinized. Poor English proficiency among some controllers contributed to misunderstandings during critical moments. Enhancing language training for controllers became a priority. The tragedy of FlyDubai 981 serves as a solemn reminder of the unpredictable nature of aviation and the importance of rigorous training and clear communication. It also stands as a tribute to the passengers and crew who lost their lives that fateful night. In aviation, every incident teaches us valuable lessons. The skies demand respect and vigilance, reminding us that even in routine operations, we must always be prepared for the unexpected. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analyses of aviation incidents. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's remember the importance of safety and training in ensuring such tragedies never happen again.